Hi guys, Ćao svima! Today I'm going to be talking in English just because this particular video is for English speakers learning Serbian. For those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Liz. I'm an Australian learning Serbian. I make a lot of fun videos about my language learning journey. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing. So if you're learning Serbian, you should already know that Serbian has two, I guess maybe even three different ways to write their language. There's the Latin alphabet and then the Cyrillic script. I would also say that cursive is like a language of its own. Let's take the word shishmish. In English it means bat, and this is how it looks in the Latin script, and then in the Cyrillic script, and then in cursive. So without further ado, let me show you how I memorized the Serbian Cyrillic alphabet. It's not that hard at all. In Serbian there are 30 letters. 7 of them are just like how you would write them in the Latin script. A, E, J, O, K, M, T. The only difference is K, M and T have different little letters. I'm sure that's a better way to say little letters. Lowercase letters. So the lowercase letters just look like the capital letters but smaller. For us English speakers, two letters that we get confused quite often, B and V. They both look very similar, and B, the one that looks more like a B, is actually V. So the way that I remember it is B looks like it has a belly. Or alternatively, I think that it also looks like a berry or a bell, and they all start with B. Whereas the V, and I learned this from a different video which I'll link over here, V looks like a B but with a veil. Another way that I like to think about it is it looks like it has a visor. G looks like a gallows pole. And then you have D and L. And I'm gonna group P as well. L sort of looks like an upside down L with a little leg or a long tail. Or you could say that it looks like a pair of legs that's walking away. This letter on the right is P, and it looks like a stagnant pair of pillars. Now D, it looks like a D that's backwards, that's running away. So let's recap. D, that looks like a D that's been flipped around and is running away. L, which looks like a pair of legs or one upside down L with a long tail. And P, which looks like a pair of pants or pillars or poles or a portal. Our next pair are J and Ch. Let's pretend that J is a Jew. It's wearing a hat and it has a little beard. See the similarity? And then Ch looks like a Jew that chewed off his beard, or he chopped his beard off. J looks like a plus sign with two C's, and those two C's kind of look like the upside down hat on top of J. Sh, it looks like you're blowing air through your front teeth. Sh. Ch looks like a chalice, and it's a hard ch because you put hard liquor in a chalice. Z. I guess it's the closest looking letter to Z. For me, Z isn't too hard to remember, but if you have other suggestions on how to remember Z, let me know down below. Same goes for any other letter. E. Now this one's interesting. It's actually 3 I's together, and the middle I fell over, and its two friends are trying to help it stay straight. N. The letter N. This letter looks similar to the letter H, but it's not. It's totally not. If you know L and N, you'll see that L and N are quite similar, just with a belly on the right. And that's a remnant of the J. R is another false friend, and it looks like the letter P, although it really is a R that's been robbed of its tail. S looks like a sad face, or I guess also a snake. Whatever works better. U looks like the letter Y, but Y doesn't exist in Serbian, so it's quite easy to remember as U, as in you and I, for example. F looks like the Greek symbol for phi. H, or the letter H, looks like an X. It also looks like a target that you're supposed to hit. You could also imagine it as an exhalation of breath, where you're throwing something to hit the target, just going, huh, for example. And then lastly, you have the letters S and J, which look quite similar, but the little tail or the little whisker is in two different places. J is quite judgmental of S because he believes that the whisker should be in the middle and not to the side. So what I recommend from here is taking the entire Cyrillic alphabet here, and seeing if you remember the Latin equivalent, or at least the sound. This whole story-making idea is also how I learned Serbian words. Na primer, the word for Eiffel Tower in Serbian is Eiffelova kula. How I remember this word is I imagine myself standing in front of the Eiffel Tower, and I imagine that there's a cooler in front of me. And then I walk over to it and I fall over the cooler in front of the Eiffel Tower. It becomes I fell over a cooler. I fell over cooler. Another one of my favorites, which I used very early on, which is the word for cauliflower, carfuel. What I imagine is filling my car up with car fuel made out of cauliflowers. Carfuel. I hope that was helpful to remember and associate the Latin script with the Cyrillic alphabet. If you have a better way to remember any of these letters, feel free to comment them down below. It will help me and also other foreigners that are learning Serbian as well. Hvala vam opet I vidimo se. Ćao!